This is a special presentation from Wood TV 8.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we recap what has been a busy year of weather. I'm Blake Harms.
And I'm Sarah Flynn. West Michigan may have experienced a mild winter last season, but that doesn't mean we didn't see any snow.
As we look at the comparison from last year to this year, you can already see we're off to a more active start. The snow really took a while to get going in 2023, but once it did in January, business certainly picked up fast. That is the first big weather event we want to revisit, the snowstorm that began on January 12th and brought whiteout conditions. Storm Team 8 tracked it all in real time.
From the Storm Team 8 Tracking Center, this is a winter weather alert.
Heavy snow keeps falling throughout West Michigan tonight, and strong winds are creating some serious blizzard-like conditions.
We are not expecting to catch a break anytime soon, as this high-impact winter storm is expected to continue throughout at least tomorrow.
We have team coverage tonight. Demetria Sanders will have more on how Consumers Energy crews are getting ready to fight this storm.
Taylor Morris will have some safety tips for you. And even if you can't see him on camera right now, Kyle Mitchell will have more on what it's looking like out there for drivers on the roads.
Megan Bunchman's taking a look at traffic from our studios, and meteorologist Blake Harms will tell us what's in store for tomorrow.
But first, we start with Chief Meteorologist Ellen Baca. Ellen, which part of West Michigan is being hit the hardest right now?
Right now, we have a band of heavier moisture that's just starting to pivot in. So some spots like Kalamazoo are beginning to see some of the snowfall rates pick up. Live look outside of various locations, you can see various visibilities at times close to zero in spots. Here's Ford International Airport. No wonder flights have been canceled there. And we're going to continue to see these conditions unfold over the night tonight into tomorrow, with a slight change in the type of snow that we see. So right now it's all about the heavy snow stacking up on the roads, big fat flakes, and then tomorrow it's all going to be about the cold blowing snow. Blake is here now. He's been checking in with the conditions outside from time to time. Blake, we have several more hours of these big flakes in store.
Yeah, and Ellen, what's making me a little concerned is that it is sticking to everything. We'll hear more from consumers coming up, but all the trees and all the power lines are certainly seeing the weight of the snow, and that may create a big power outage situation as we head through the rest of the overnight.
Crews with Consumers Energy are responding to outages caused by today's winter storm. And News 8's Demetria Sanders is live outside of Consumers Grand Rapids Service Center with more on their efforts. Demetrius?
Well, we're already starting to see a few outages pop up around West Michigan, and Consumers Energy says that they'll use plenty of resources to make sure that power gets restored quickly. Now, there's two main concerns with this storm. One is the heavy, wet snow that can weigh down power lines and trees. Consumers Energy also says that heavy winds can create additional outages. Now, in response, Consumers Energy has 400 crews available. That includes linemen from 9 different states, including places like New York and Colorado. After fixing power issues caused by snow earlier this week, Consumers says that their crews are ready for this latest challenge.
As an energy provider, we know that it's important to keep the lights on for Consumers Energy, for our customers. We're going to do everything we can to get power back on as quickly and safely as we can.
Now, if you haven't already done so, Consumers Energy also encourages its customers to keep electronics charged and also have an emergency kit somewhere nearby. In Wyoming, Demetria Sanders, News 8.
Ahead, more stories from the skies as tornadoes struck West Michigan. Some communities are still cleaning up the mess left behind.
And all eyes on the skies will take you back to a once-in-a-lifetime celestial event.
Welcome back. As we look ahead to the new year, we're looking back at some of the biggest weather events covered by Storm Team 8 in 2024.
Yeah, we head next to February 28th when an EF1 tornado tore through Calhoun County. It touched down near Marshall. The day preceding it saw in the 70s. In fact, it was the first February 70-degree day ever in Grand Rapids.
The tornado snapped or uprooted hundreds of trees along its path and heavily damaged multiple buildings.
I had the chance to sit down with the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service to talk more about this twister. Roofs torn apart, hundreds of trees destroyed, a tractor trailer now unrecognizable. These are just some of the scenes that remain in Calhoun County 2 days after an EF1 tornado tore a 5.5-mile path through this wooded area north of Marshall. Brand new footage from Drone 8 shows the trail of destruction. Scattered debris and a path torn through the heavily wooded area reveal the scar left by the twister. It was one of two that touched down in Michigan overnight Tuesday. An EF2 tornado hit Grand Blanc, Flint, touching down shortly after 1 a.m. and packing winds of 115 miles per hour. This messy scene, more reminiscent of August, instead sits among the February chill, with temperatures in lower Michigan dropping 50 degrees or more following the storm's passage. It was a reality not lost on meteorologists at the National Weather Service.
Well, February tornadoes in Michigan are indeed very rare, and we had a unique combination of a strong upper-level trough that was moving into the Great Lakes, which is not unusual for February, but what allowed this to produce severe weather was the warmth and moisture, very unusual for late February.
Following the record heat, attention turned to a rotating supercell that traversed the I-94 corridor for several hours.
That was a very interesting storm because it exhibited rotation for such a long period of time.
While interesting, it wasn't anything new or unusual for Weather Service meteorologists.
I think it's important to note that many thunderstorms exhibit rotation. However, a very small percentage of those actually produce tornadoes. The million-dollar question for the meteorologist is often which of those storms will actually produce a tornado.
Regardless, rotation appeared tight enough on radar to prompt tornado warnings beginning in Berrien County before eventually including parts of Van Buren, Kalamazoo, and Calhoun. A very narrow slice of the atmosphere made all the difference in keeping any potential tornado aloft until reaching I-69.
Determining which storms are most likely to be tornadic is a matter of looking much lower, oftentimes looking at the characteristic of moisture and temperature for added instability in the lowest part of the atmosphere, as well as wind characteristics very close to the ground. Oftentimes, the wind profile in the lowest 1,000 to 2,000 feet of the atmosphere is what will tip things in favor of actually having a tornado that forms.
Law enforcement and emergency management sources first spotted the tornado, confirming damage and giving ground truth to meteorologists tracking its path.
Very valuable. We are seeking every bit of information we can, and we're monitoring on radar, state-of-the-art equipment, but you can't replace what folks are seeing on the ground.
Tuesday's twisters now join elite company.
Prior to this event, there were a total of 5 tornadoes in Michigan ever since records began in 1950 in the state of Michigan. So we now have a total of 7 tornadoes in Michigan in the month of February, 2 of which occurred a couple days ago.
Climatology aside, Bruce says Tuesday night proved a reminder that meteorology doesn't play by the rules.
Well, you can't help but think about climatology and the rarity of events like that. But at the end of the day, the atmosphere is going to do what the atmosphere does.
Coming up next, the aftermath of 2 other tornadoes this year, one of them leaving a path of destruction through the heart of Portage.
Plus, a total solar eclipse makes history. How people near and far celebrated the once-in-a-lifetime event.
In May, tornadoes tore through 4 southwest Michigan communities: Dowagiac, Centerville, Sherwood, and Portage. All of them were besides the Dowagiac tornado, which was an EF1.
The twisters ripped several houses from their foundations and sent debris flying, displacing dozens of families. Our crews were on the ground surveying that damage on that day.
Joins us live from Portage with the latest on how crews are working to clean up debris in the aftermath of these storms. Brian, how's it looking out there firsthand?
Good evening, Sue. It has been a busy day in Portage. In fact, earlier at 5, we checked in with Consumers Energy, and their spokespeople tell us that the crews on the ground here today have made significant progress. They had about 30,000 outages going into the morning. They've cut that number in half down to 15,000, and they hope to have everyone back online sometime tomorrow. So a lot of activity, a lot of trucks running around. We're here on Center Avenue, here in Portage, right in front of that strip mall that was destroyed by the tornado yesterday. And now the National Weather Service saying it was indeed an EF2 that came through here. One of the hardest hit areas of Portage is Timber Creek Court. That's a neighborhood where dozens of families have been forced out of their homes today. News 8's Byron Tollefson live there after talking with neighbors earlier. Byron.
Brian, neighbors have described the situation really as a crisis. If you look right behind me here, you can see that a tree completely just leveled this vehicle. These residents have been cleaning it up all day. The tree had fallen on top of the home at one point, and now you can see there's just a big hole left there. But toward the cul-de-sac, things are especially devastating. Roofs ripped off, walls torn open. These homes are just destroyed. The city's deputy fire marshal says when crews got here last night, some residents were trapped in their homes. A pregnant woman was forced into labor during the tornado. First responders took her to a local hospital. The gas is out for this neighborhood. City buses, we're told, took 47 residents to nearby shelter. They have been coming back here throughout the day to retrieve their belongings. Nicholas Strite lives here. He and his girlfriend took shelter in the basement as the tornado came by, sending a tree falling toward the roof of this duplex and right on his car, now totaled, but he's just thankful to be alive.
The smell of gas has been coming straight down the road. So people are evacuating as their house is completely leveled. Nobody knows where they're going to be going.
You can just see the damage firsthand right now with this branch just fallen, smashed his car here. Nicholas has just been working all day to clean up this area. The city's fire marshal says so many people have come together offering help clearing up debris, but still he reminds them that power lines can still be energized and gas leaks could still be in place. So it's important to be extremely cautious in the situation. A very emotional day for this neighborhood as they continue to pick up the pieces. Brian.
Byron, it is amazing how many big trees did come down in those storms. Today in northern Branch County, some neighbors there were wondering how they could have possibly survived the powerful tornado that roared through. Target 8 investigator Ken Kolker spent his day in Sherwood. He has more on that story.
We spoke to the man who lived in this trailer, who said he was home when the tornado hit, that he somehow got wrapped up in this carpeting, which protected him from debris and kept him from flying away with the rest of his home.
Well, I was in the kitchen, the wind had picked up and it started hailing a little bit.
He kept making his salad until an alarm on his phone sounded.
It was a warning, and it was coming. And then about that time, I heard it. And I looked out the back window and it hit, and every one of them trees just snapped off like they were toothpicks.
The tornado was bearing down on a cluster of 8 homes in a dip in the road near Sherwood, including his small trailer. The same tornado would lay claim to trees, barns, silos, and homes for at least 2 miles.
And I just dove on the floor in front of the couch. And when the whole trailer lifted off of me, stuff started flowing over me. The carpet had pulled up off the floor and it wrapped itself around me. And I just grabbed a hold of the carpet and I pulled it real tight.
Other neighbors had time to take cover, at least better cover than a rug. Some hid in their SUVs or pickups. One family hid in their bathroom.
And we were all hunkered down in there.
Hunkered down in the bathroom.
With the door. And I was holding the door shut from the inside. Glass and shrapnel was coming in through the gap there.
But Tom Austin had no choices.
I think that carpet was the only thing that saved my. It just. I don't know how
are you alive?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Once the wind died down, he hollered for help from a neighbor.
I'm in here, and he says, where? And I finally got the strength to sit up, and he saw me.
Today, a neighbor took him to the hospital, where he was treated for 2 broken ribs.
Broke right in half, and they're like this.
Along with some cuts and abrasions. He's now staying with friends.
I can't believe that I made it through that.
Remarkably, this is the only injury we've heard of in the tornado that swept through this area. In Sherwood, I'm Target investigator Ken Kolker.
Less than 2 months later, winds of a different kind roared into West Michigan, this time in the form of straight-line winds. County leaders told News 8 at the time that 2 people were left hurt and at least 8 homes had significant damage.
Trees toppled over and fell on one woman's roof. It left behind damage to both her garage and vehicle. Numerous roads in Muskegon County were closed for a time because of downed trees, power lines, and debris.
Next, a solar eclipse dazzles spectators from coast to coast. We're taking you back to the path of totality.
On April 8, history was made as a total solar eclipse crossed North America.
Storm Team 8 took you inside all the excitement in totality, a 30-minute special.
Here's a snippet of our pre-eclipse coverage leading up to the big day.
A potentially once-in-a-lifetime event, bringing all eyes to the skies. A total solar eclipse is on the horizon, and the excitement is already at an all-time high. Over the next half hour, Wood TV 8 is bringing you special team coverage you won't see anywhere else, featuring all 5 Storm Team 8 meteorologists. They're looking out for you with everything you need to know and what to expect when the eclipse happens on April 8th. Plus, find out how the history of eclipses relates to legends and folklore, and how researchers use the facts to learn more about the universe. This 30-minute Totality Wood TV 8 2024 Solar Eclipse Special starts right now.
The 2024 total solar eclipse will pass North America, tracking through Mexico, the United States, and Canada. A total solar eclipse happens when the moon crosses directly between the sun and the earth. Technically, this happens about once a month. However, the moon is tilted by about 5 degrees. Because of this tilt, we only see the perfect setup for a total solar eclipse about once every 18 months. It's by divine coincidence that we see a total solar eclipse at all. The sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon. It's also about 400 times more distant in the sky. Because of this mathematical oddity, it sets the scene perfectly for the moon to blacken out the sun completely, allowing us to see the corona spilling off its edges. The 2024 total solar eclipse will last about 4 minutes and 28 seconds at peak totality. This compares to about 2 minutes and 42 seconds for the 2017 total solar eclipse.
I made the trip to Arkansas to check out the eclipse from the path of totality.
News 8 has team coverage tonight on the solar eclipse. We want to start with meteorologist Sarah Flynn, who is live in Perryville, Arkansas, and got a great view of the phenomenon. Sarah?
Just after 12:30 p.m. Central Time, we started to see that moon slide in front of the sun, creating a partial eclipse. And just over an hour later, we reached totality, which was truly a breathtaking sight to see. The sky fell into a twilight for just over 4 minutes. Most noticeably, the temperature dropped about 5 to 10 degrees, which was a welcome feeling after the high temperatures reached the mid-80s this afternoon. The group of nearly 50 people who traveled the 12 hours from Grand Rapids to small-town Perryville High School said the trip was well worth it and wouldn't have been possible without their group leader, Dave DeBryan.
I think we just successfully saw nature's greatest spectacle. And I think of all of the 7 out of 8 eclipses now that I've seen, this was the most beautiful one and probably most significant because I was with so many longtime friends and former eclipse chasers. It was just such a dramatic and almost spiritual event.
Now, believe it or not, this parking lot was full just a few hours ago, but everyone has since taken off either to head back to Little Rock or to try to make the journey a little bit closer back to Grand Rapids. But there is a severe weather threat tonight in Arkansas and Texas, and state police, as well as other crews, are asking people to hold off on travel as long as possible. That could add another layer to already expected very busy roads this evening. We are live in Perryville. I'll send it back to you.
Great coverage there. You can find our 30-minute Storm Team 8 Totality Special over at woodtv.com. That's also where you can check out all of our big weather coverage from 2024. That's it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Blake Harms.
And I'm Sarah Flynn. Thanks for watching.